All right, so looking at the camera side by side, the Hero 10 weighs 151 grams versus the Action 2 cam weighing 56 grams by itself and around 118 grams once you attach the screen or power module. Let's take a look at the Action 2 cam first. The overall build of the camera is something that makes it definitely stand out from other action cameras in the market. It has a lightweight aluminum body, which makes it super sleek looking and stylish, yet it's still pretty solid. I had read that some people online were on the fence about its body because, sure, it looks more fragile than your traditional action camera setup, but I did some drop tests before it got run over by a car, and it handle drops no problem. Now, don't get me started on how tiny it is. As much as I like the results that the Hero 10 gave me, I gotta admit that using a bigger action camera while we waited for the other Action 2 to come in the mail made me appreciate how much the Action 2 packs on its tiny body. On the other hand, the Hero 10 brings back the same body that tons of people love. It is just as rugged and tough looking as its predecessor. We didn't get a completely designed exterior, but I guess GoPro took a if it's not broken, why break it kind of approach. The cool thing about having a similar body though is that if you were already a GoPro user, batteries from the Hero 9 and mounting accessories can be used for this as well. So, you wouldn't have to buy a whole new setup all over again. Now, when comparing sizing, it becomes a little tricky because, like I mentioned earlier, the Action 2 is super tiny and lightweight, but once you attach any of the power modules, it becomes a little over an inch taller than the Hero 10. And I mean taller because once mounted, you would need to mount the Action 2 vertically in comparison to the more traditional horizontal mounting setup of the Hero 10. So that's something that may matter to you. For me, it didn't really make much difference. Looking at the video quality of the cameras themselves, here is some footage from the two of them side by side, with the Action 2 featuring 4K at 30 frames per second and the Hero 10 featuring 5.3K at 30 frames per second. Both of them have their stabilization features on, as well as normal and natural color profiles respectively, which I slightly color graded. Also worth noting, for this comparison, I decided to randomly swap the order of the footage, mainly to keep our eyes away from locking on just one side of the screen. But anyway, I would say the first thing to note here is the crop difference, with the Action 2 having a wider field of view, definitely wide enough to notice that dog totally reject me. When it comes to the auto exposure, the Action 2 tends to overexpose certain highlights a little bit. Take a look at the side of the house here versus the highlights of the Hero 10. You can always set up your exposure to manual, but overall I think the Hero 10 has a better dynamic range, and the 5.3K definitely offers more detail as well. I also tested out the optical zoom on the Action 2. It's not awful, but you'll definitely lose some video quality. When it comes to their stabilization capabilities, both cameras perform very well. Here is some footage from both cameras with stabilization off. And here is GoPro's Hypersmooth and DJI's Rocksteady on. Though the Hero 10 has 3 levels of stabilization, standard, high, and boost, personally, I think DJI's Rocksteady is a tiny bit extra smooth, especially when there's any turning motion. Just in general though, the footage should be ridiculously shaky, but both cameras do an awesome job at keeping things smooth, which always blows my mind for cameras this small. It doesn't make any sense, and honestly, I love it. Next is a feature that both cameras have, kind of. On the Action 2, you can activate Horizon Steady, which is a super handy feature that essentially does what its name suggests. It keeps the video locked, so you could be moving your camera in whatever angle and it will lock the horizon right side up. This is thanks to the 155-degree field of view that the Action 2 has. The Hero 10 can also do this, but only when you add their Max Lens mod, which sadly I don't have, but I will put it right here. It looks something like this. Alright, so we've talked a little bit about video and picture quality. Let's talk audio. So I have both cameras set up right in front of me, the Hero 10 to my left and the Action 2 to my right. So I'll be playing the footage one right after the other to compare if there is any difference whatsoever. Alright, so we've talked a little bit about video and picture quality. Let's talk audio. So I have both cameras set up right in front of me, the Hero 10 to my left and the Action 2 to my right. So I'll be playing the footage one right after the other to compare if there is any difference whatsoever. Alright friends, this is audio test number 2. I'm just walking to a park nearby my apartment. This time around, I've added the dual screen module to the Action 2, which is supposed to give the camera a 4-mic setup situation. Let's see if it sounds any different. And final test, I've added the dual screen module to the Action 2 again to compare the whole 4-mic setup. We'll see how it sounds like with tons of wind and a really loud situation going on in the background. Hopefully it sounds good. Moving on to the differences in screens, the Hero 10 integrates 2 screens in its body. A 1.4-inch LCD screen in the front, just right beside the lens, and a 2.27-inch rectangle LCD touchscreen in the back. With the dual screen combo, the Action 2 features 2 LCD screens as well, both of them being 1.76-inch square screens. And with these screens, because both of them are essentially touchscreens, you can access all the camera menus from either of them, which is honestly a pretty cool feature to have, especially if you already have it, set up somewhere and you don't want to have to dismount it all over again kind of thing. Now, when it comes to shooting at different aspect ratios, the square screens that the Action 2 have don't cause any issues when it comes to framing. Both automatically adjust to whatever aspect ratio you choose, that is 16:9 or 4:3, so you don't really have to worry about things being out of frame. Similarly, the Hero 10's front screen can be set up to feature the aspect ratio of your choice. You would just need to select the quick menu, front screen options, and choose actual screen. Both menu systems are user-friendly, and in my experience playing around with both, I really like how simple their quick settings were. In the Action 2, I found that settings were easy to access all at once since they bundled resolution and aspect ratio, as well as frame rate and their steady options and a smaller layout since, of course, the body size is smaller. So, with 1 or 2 swipes, you can very quickly choose your desired settings, though I can imagine someone with bigger fingers may find the screens in the Action 2 maybe a little bit harder to use. But that's where the Hero 10 could come in. Since it has a larger screen, the menu systems can be accessed no problem. You also have the extra perk to make shortcuts for your own setting presets, which it's a really awesome handy feature to have as well. I think both cameras are pretty intuitive, which I really appreciate in a device, so truly in this case the choice will depend on what you find most comfortable and useful. But both cameras being packed with such great features, form factor and price definitely play a part on whether you want to buy one or the other. So let's recap. The DJI Action 2 is a modular system, which means that you have a screen and internal battery within its body, and you have the ability to add and strip your setup depending on which magnetic module you want to include or remove. In practice, having the ability to customize your setup and strip down your camera is awesome, especially because again, this is a magnetic modular system, so the amount of time you save up quickly switching a module, it's so nice. The magnetic capabilities also make setup super simple. You can even ditch the accessories altogether, which I found myself doing. I would just stick it in a random metallic place, which honestly can unlock pretty fun angles. One disappointing aspect about the modularity of it, however, is that adding modules automatically makes this not waterproof, which is a tough sell because it means that you don't only have to carry a case around, you also have to pay $55 US, $75 Canadian extra. On the other hand, you have the Hero 10, which is a larger camera, but an all-in-one package. You have your 2 screens, your removable rechargeable batteries, and you can actually purchase different types as well, and they're all way cheaper in comparison to the Action 2's batteries. Here is the catch though: if you want to benefit from the horizon leveling feature I mentioned earlier, you have to buy the Max Lens mod, which sets you back $100 US, 140 Canadian. GoPro's also trying to keep things customizable by offering mods that you can add into your setup, which seem geared towards vloggers in mind. There are tiny mics, tiny front-facing monitors, and even LED mods, which I gotta admit melted my heart because they're so darn cute. But anyway, staying objective though, it would be interesting to see how much weight would get added to that setup, especially because that would mean your setup would automatically become bigger. Which brings me to price versus value. Let's make 2 hypothetical virtual shopping carts. On one side you have the Action 2, and on the other the Hero 10. Let's say we want to benefit from a similar setup, so we choose the dual screen combo at $520 US, 679 Canadian. Technically speaking, the screen module would be kind of like a battery since it offers extra power, but let's just say that we want to have an extra battery on hand. So that's $75 US, 95 Canadian. And we want to make our setup waterproof, so we add a waterproof case for 55 US, 70 Canadian. Altogether, we got a magnetic modular setup with upgraded mics, magnetic accessories, the equivalent of 2 extra batteries, and it is waterproof for $649 US, 844 Canadian. Moving on to the Hero 10 side, you can purchase it for $499 US, 650 Canadian, but you can save more if you get the 1-year GoPro subscription, which brings the price down to $399 US, 529 Canadian. We actually got ours for $450 Canadian at Best Buy, so you could get deals as well. We add in 2 standard batteries for $20 US, $25 Canadian each. The lens mod, which we needed for horizon leveling, $100 US, 140 Canadian. Now, we don't have any mounting accessories. Let's say that we want to have a magnetic moment. Snap has a magnetic mount that is honestly super cool, and it gives you the ability to quickly swap setups via magnets, which you can purchase for $40 US, 51 Canadian, for a grand total of $578 US, 70 Canadian. Of course, you can choose to only purchase certain pieces and save more money, but all in all, if you wanted all the extra pieces for a full setup, there's essentially a $75 difference. So, with all of that in mind, I think the choice to purchase will come down to your preference. If you don't care about having the smallest device and want an all-included action camera, I would say a GoPro or even the Action Osmo One from DJI will offer an more traditional package that you will love at a more affordable price. In some ways, the Action 2 feels more like a luxury action camera to me. You get the ability to strip down your setup and add and swap modules, which can definitely feel satisfying and definitely more premium. In my time with the camera, that's honestly what I enjoy the most. Now, as to where I stand in this action cam battle, it's tough because as much as DJI totally killed the game with their lineup in 2021 and how much I enjoyed the Action 2, the lack of waterproof capabilities once paired with a module, battery modules being super expensive, and the Hero 10's better HDR capabilities made me sway towards the Hero 10 a little bit more. But I am definitely looking forward to see what the next iteration of the DJI Action cameras will be and how the excitement of a modular system will influence GoPro for future products. But anyways, that's all friends. My name is Alex. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to check out Mobile Syrup for tons of other awesome tech news. Bye.
Yo, can I come back upstairs now?
Dude, I didn't even tie you up.
Can you like see a bit of me in the frame? I think you need to.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.